Okay, so I got to the video this week. I was actually a bit concerned I might not make it, but here we are, better late than never. So wanted to discuss something, we're gonna completely take it out of its literal understanding and understand this, hey, Joanne, understand this completely from a psychological perspective, and really how it applies to our lives. And in this week's Torah portion of Chukat, it talks about the red heifer. I know, something we're all very into. And this idea of the red heifer, this red cow, which is used to purify somebody that has come into contact with death. So now, what is really death, and what is the idea of being in contact with it? And psychologically speaking, it's this concept of being in a state of apathy, of being in a state of depression, of not caring, of not moving, of not being motivated, of not being alive. You know, somebody can be the living dead, where they may actually have a heartbeat, but their heart and their soul and their mind, not their literal heart will be beating, but their emotional heart seems just completely apathetic and disconnected from life. And this idea of connecting and using this red heifer, and what does that actually mean? And it's interesting because it's called in Hebrew a para aduma, and para, the word for cow, is etymologically connected to the word mafreh, which means to swell. And it's actually the same word. It has the word for cow within it, but it begins with the letter mem. And it's this idea of when somebody is in this apathetic, depressed, death-like state, they need ego. They need that swelling of self in order to come back to life, to have energy, to have motivation. And for that, we really kind of focus on the concept the world was created for you. This idea that you are so vitally important, you are so necessary, you are so needed. Only what you can do can be, is needed by you. There's a beautiful idea from Reb Nachman of Breslov that one's birthday is when God decided that the world could no longer exist without that person. So we begin with this idea of pumping the ego, letting somebody know how essential, how necessary, how needed, how important they are. And yet the heifer, the cow, is red. And the idea of red in Kabbalah is that of Gevura, of having boundaries, of having borders, of having limitations. So it's both the color of vitality, right? Our blood is proof that we are alive and well when it is within our body. It is always representative of death outside of our body. And when I say death, I mean something not good, not healthy, not natural. Right? You're doing great until you realize you're bleeding. Suddenly you realize there's a problem. I should not be gushing blood here. It's always, our way of knowing something is problematic. And so the red heifer is then that idea that we're constantly balancing between using ego to re-enliven ourselves, to have that motivation to come back with that vitality and with that strength and with that power and with that fire that red always represents. And yet once we connect to that and the apathy is gone and we are back to life, we then need to temper it. We then need to recognize that there needs to be some boundaries to it. It can't be motivated by ego. It can't be all about ego. Ego can be what inspires that shift and that change, but we don't want to then be relying on ego and continuously focused on that swelling that then would be the continuation of it. So I have my cat, oh my gosh, walking around my legs right now and about to trip me. But can you see my cat? Hello. So don't know if you saw the cat right there. So anyway, that is one of the concepts of Parshas Chukas, of this week's Torah portion. and recognizing that delicate balance between the fact that the world was created for us, that we are absolutely necessary and so essential, and using that when we are stuck in an apathetic place, when we are in a place of depression, when we are not motivated, when we are not having the energy to keep moving and keep going, and to use that. And then once we are gifted and back to life in that sense, to see that's the red heifer, and to use those boundaries to keep it in check and to keep our ego in place, and to know that it should be tempered and have limits to it. So, so exciting to see all of you. Marissa, wow, Ayala, hello. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna go back in and finish my cooking. Here, I can show you now. Can I get this to turn? Here's the cat that was just tripping me, sitting all innocently now on the step. But with that, have a great, I'm getting eaten alive out here also. Have a great Shabbos, and we will be in touch next week. Good Shabbos.